That is two-dimensional data. What is 2D data here? Now, whenever you have data that is organized into rows and columns, whenever you have data organized into rows and columns, let's say we have the lists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now these are nested lists. Why it is nested list? This is a one list. This is a second list. This is a third list. Everything is inside another big list. That is why it is known as nested list. Now, how the data is organized here? Data is organized in the form of two dimension. What is two dimension here? These are rows. These are rows. Row 1, row 2, row 3. What are these? These are columns. Column 1, column 2, column 3. Column 1, column 2, column 3. So whenever you have data that is organized in forms of rows and columns, then that is known as two-dimensional data, or this is also called as a matrix. So these naming conventions are pretty much important because whenever you are trying to deal with data with whenever you are trying to deal with different dimensions of data, you need to be aware of the naming conventions. So here, whenever you are dealing with one dimension data, you simply call it a vector. Now, whenever you are dealing with a two-dimensional data, what is two-dimensional data? Nothing but a data which is in form of rows, which you stores in rows and columns. Then that two-dimensional data is also known as a matrix. But in one-dimensional data, what you are doing? You are accessing each and every element with single index. Okay, each and every element has a single index. Now, what about in two-dimensional data? You can access each and every element using two indices. Now, what do you mean by, so what is here? You can access each element, each and every element in the matrix in the 2D data using two indices. What do you mean by two indices here? When you are accessing this first element, you need to access it using two indices. So using rows and using column. That is what it meant to mean whenever you are accessing data with two indices. Now, how can you access one here? You can access one using something known as array of what is this? This is the first row. Okay. How can you access this thing? You can access this thing using the first row. Let's say this is a row and this is a column. This is how you are going to access a specific element. If you want to access this specific element, this is 0th row and 0th column. Let's say if you want to access the other element, it is 0th row first column, 0th row second column. So these kind of things you can be doing with arrays. So if you want to access any element here, you can access it using the row and the column. So you need to mention the array. After that array, you need to mention the row, comma, column. What do you mean by that? In this row and in this row and in this column, I want this element. Okay. Let's say if you want to access 5, let's say if this is 0th row, first row, second row, 0th column, first column, second column, 0, 1, 2. Now, if you want to access 1, here, you will be simply saying array of 0, comma 0. What do you mean by this? 0th row, 0th column. So what is 0th row here? This is the row at 0th index position. This is the column at 0th. This is the column at 0th index position. Now, what is the element common in both of these rows and column? 1. So that is how you can access that element using the row and column of this matrix. So that is how you are dealing with two-dimensional data whenever you are dealing with rows and columns. Now,